If you're in the middle of what feels like a complete unraveling, where the life you built suddenly doesn't make sense anymore, where you can't recognize yourself in your own decisions, where everything you thought you wanted feels hollow, you might be wondering if you're losing your mind. You're not. What you're experiencing has a recognizable pattern and a structure. Researchers who study midlife disruption have identified 6 distinct stages that people move through. Not everyone experiences all 6. Not everyone moves through them in order. But understanding the pattern, knowing where you are, can be the difference between feeling completely lost and recognizing this is a passage, not a collapse. So let me walk you through the 6 stages of a midlife crisis. But first, I need to be clear about something. What we're discussing today includes serious territory. Developmental psychologist Erik Erikson studied this pattern extensively. He called the ultimate risk of this crisis despair, not just sadness, but the sense that life has been wasted, that it's too late to change course, and that the whole narrative no longer makes sense. This isn't metaphorical language. This is clinical observation about what happens when midlife challenges remain unresolved. And yet, this is what matters most. Erickson also identified the pathway through integrity, the capacity to look back on your life and accept it as meaningful, including the parts you didn't choose. So today, I'm not just mapping crisis. I'm mapping the passage through it toward integration. This isn't to diagnose you or to fix you, but to help you locate yourself in territory that has been mapped before, and to show you that wherever you are, there is a pathway forward. Because knowing where you are is often the first step toward knowing where you're going. The first stage is what researchers call the triggering event. And this is rarely something small. It might be a diagnosis of chronic illness that fundamentally limits your capacity, as it was for me. The sudden loss of a parent, not just grief, but the recognition that you're now the older generation. Career obsolescence. The skills you spent decades building are no longer valued, and this is more relevant today than ever before. Or a relationship ending through divorce, betrayal, or slow recognition that connection has been gone for years. Perhaps it's the last child leaving home, and the identity you built around motherhood or fatherhood suddenly has no daily expression. Sometimes it's not a single event, but an accumulation. Years of living out of alignment with your actual values. Decades of suppressing who you really are to meet everyone else's expectations. And then one day, something breaks. The trigger itself isn't the crisis, it's the catalyst. The moment when the story you've been telling about your life stops making sense. Philosopher Alasdair MacIntyre called this narrative collapse, when the coherence of your life becomes utterly unintelligible to you. You can still recite the facts, your job title, your relationships, your accomplishments, but they no longer form a story that feels true. If you're in stage 1, you might be asking, how did I get here? Is this really my life? And when did everything become so wrong? That questioning, that's not weakness. That's your psyche recognizing that something fundamental has shifted. Stage 2 is where things intensify. Researchers call this acute disorientation and identity fragmentation. What this means in lived experience is you can't make decisions the way you used to. Even small choices, what to eat, what to wear, how to spend an evening, feel overwhelming. Your usual coping strategies stop working. The things that always helped you regulate, exercise, time with friends, work focus, either don't help anymore or you can't access them. You might withdraw from relationships, not because you don't care, but because you can't explain what's happening. And being around others feels like performing a self you no longer recognize. Anxiety becomes constant. And depression may set in. And it's not the sadness kind of depression, it's the empty kind. The kind Viktor Frankl called the existential vacuum. This is the feeling that life has lost its purpose, its direction, its meaning. What's happening internally is what psychologists describe as temporal identity integration breakdown. This is where past, present, and future no longer coherently connect. The person you were feels like a stranger. The person you are now feels unrecognizable. The person you thought you'd become feels unreachable. If you're in stage 2, you might be experiencing panic attacks that come from nowhere. The sense that you're watching your life from outside your body. Impulsive decisions that don't feel like you, but also don't feel wrong. This stage is genuinely frightening. And if you're here, I want you to know this is not permanent. This is the most acute phase, the hardest phase, but it is not the final phase. Stage 3 is what spiritual traditions have called the dark night of the soul. This is the nadir, the bottom. Before we go deeper into this stage, I need to pause and say something clearly. If you're in stage 3 right now, if what I'm about to describe isn't just uncomfortable, but genuinely unbearable, if you're experiencing thoughts of harming yourself, please pause this video. The crisis line number in the US is 988. It's also in the description below. What we're discussing here is serious territory, and I want you to have immediate professional support if that's where you are. For everyone else, let's talk about what stage 3 is, what it feels like, and why it's temporary. Stage 3 is a complete loss of meaning, the sense that everything you built has been for nothing, that the sacrifices you made weren't worth it, that the person you became is someone you don't even recognize or respect. Research shows this stage involves what sociologist Michael Burry called biographical disruption, a recognition that the world you thought you understood doesn't operate the way you believed. The rules you followed didn't lead where you thought they would. The values you prioritized didn't create the life you thought they promised. This stage can involve severe depression, complete withdrawal, destructive behaviors like substance use, abuse, affairs, reckless spending. If you're in stage 3, this is where professional support becomes essential. It is not optional, it is essential. Because the dark night is real, the pain is real, and the danger in this place is real. But, and this is crucial, the dark night is also temporary. Carl Jung, who wrote extensively about this phase, said, "The midlife crisis is a kind of new birth which is initiated by a crisis." He called it the death of the old self so that the new might be born. That doesn't make it less painful. but it does mean there is a purpose to this darkness. In a way, you're not falling apart as much as you are falling open. And this is what the research shows. The people who reach stage 6, full emergence and integration, almost all passed through stage 3. The dark night isn't failure. It's the threshold between the life you've outgrown and the one you're being called toward. It doesn't feel like a threshold when you're in it. It feels like an ending. But Jung, Erickson, Frankl, myself, through lived experience, all observed the same pattern. The deepest transformation follows the deepest crisis. Not because the crisis was good, but because what you build on the other side of it has foundation the easier path could never provide. And what comes next determines everything. Stage 4 is the most critical juncture. This is what I call the turn. It's the moment, often not conscious, often evident only in hindsight, where you choose a direction. You can turn toward integration, or you can turn toward stagnation. Erik Erikson, the developmental psychologist who mapped the stages of adult life, described this choice clearly. Stagnation, he said, is when you become your one and only child. This is excessive self-focus and an inability to contribute to anything beyond your own comfort and security. People who choose stagnation often recreate the same crisis in different forms for the rest of their lives. Integration is different. Integration is when you start making different choices, not because you've figured everything out, not because the pain is gone, but because something in you stops trying to escape and starts learning to move through. Viktor Frankl wrote about this turn. He called it choosing the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. When you can't change what happened, when you can't undo the loss, when you can't go back to who you were, you still have the freedom to choose what it means. The turn isn't dramatic. It might look like calling a therapist or a sponsor instead of numbing out, starting to journal instead of scrolling, reaching out to the one person instead of isolating completely, choosing to believe even for a moment that something might be trying to emerge. If you're in stage 4, you might not know you're turning yet. You might just feel the slightest shift from I can't survive this to maybe I can. That shift matters more than you can possibly know. Stage 5 is reconstruction. This is where the real work begins. Not the work of going back, but the work of building forward. McIntyre's concept of narrative unity is essential here. He argued that human lives require coherent stories. The crisis shattered your story. Reconstruction is about writing a new one that incorporates rather than denies what happened. This stage involves active identity reconstruction. We ask ourselves, who am I now? What do I actually value? Not what I was taught to value, but what I genuinely value. What parts of my old life still serve the purpose I'm becoming? What needs to be released? It involves relationship repair. Sadly, some relationships won't survive the crisis. That's part of the process. Others can be rebuilt, but with different terms and different honesty. It involves meaning recovery, finding or creating new sources of significance. Frankl identified 3 pathways: through creative work, through experiencing love and beauty, through the attitude you take toward unavoidable suffering. And this stage, or rather at this stage, all three become important. Reconstruction isn't linear. You'll have days that feel like stage 2 again, moments that feel like stage 3, but the trajectory has changed. You're no longer falling, you're building. If you're in stage 5, you might notice small moments of energy around things that used to feel dead, tentative curiosity about what might come next, the ability to sit with discomfort without immediately needing to escape it. Those are signs of reconstruction. Stage 6 is emergence. This is not a return to normal. This is the arrival at something new. Jung described this as individuation, becoming the whole self you're called to be, not just the partial self you constructed for social success. People who reach this stage demonstrate what researchers call post-traumatic growth. They are not unmarked by the crisis. They're marked in ways that deepen capacity. And what emerges? Reduced need for performance. The energy that was spent maintaining the gap between who you presented and who you actually were, that energy becomes available for genuine living. This is a deepened capacity for relationships. The vulnerability encountered in crisis creates foundation for real connection. You've been seen in your imperfection. You can now see others in theirs. Practical wisdom, the kind that can only be gained through lived experience of difficulty. Discernment between what can be controlled and what can't. Tolerance for ambiguity. Compassion for yourself and others in struggle. And narrative coherence. A story about your life that incorporates the crisis without being defined by it. Erickson called this outcome ego integrity, the capacity to look back on your life and accept it as meaningful and complete, including the parts you didn't choose. Frankl called it tragic optimism, the capacity to find meaning even in suffering. If you're in stage 6 or moving toward it, you might notice a sense of settledness that doesn't require everything to be perfect. The ability to hold complexity without needing to resolve it. A quiet confidence that's not about what you've accomplished, but about who you've become. And maybe, most importantly, the recognition that the crisis, while you would not have chosen it, made possible a depth of living you couldn't have accessed any other way. So those are the 6 stages: the trigger, disorientation and fragmentation, the dark night, the turn, reconstruction, and emergence. If you're trying to locate yourself, you might be solidly in one stage, and you might be moving between 2. You might even revisit earlier stages, even as you're working on a later one. That's all normal. What matters most is this: wherever you are, you're in a process that has been navigated before. You're not uniquely broken. You're not falling apart in some unprecedented way. You are in transition. And the research, a century of developmental psychology, depth psychology, philosophy, converges on this truth. The people who emerge strongest are the ones who stopped trying to skip stages and started learning to be present in whichever stage they're actually in. Not rushing, not avoiding, just paying attention to what each stage is asking from you. That's the work. If this helped you locate yourself, if it gave you some sense of where you are and where this phase of life might be going, subscribe. Because everything I create here is for people navigating this terrain, not with quick fixes, not with promises that it will be easy, but with the kind of honesty that helps you move through with your integrity intact. You're not alone in this, and you don't have to have reached stage 6 to be doing it right. Wherever you are, that's exactly where you need to be right now.